Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to episode 7 of your local podcast here in Schenectady. This is the Homes Podcast. I'm joined by Jerry, as usual. Jerry, thanks for
Hello.
And then a rarity, we have Maurice back, and our guest today is Charnel. Can you guys give a quick 2-second introduction? And I do want to point out what we're going to talk about is winterization. It's going to tie into some lead safe, and it is a beautiful day to be outside. So we're talking about how to make the house warm, and it's beautiful outside. But let's go around and say hello.
Great intro.
Well.
There you go. I'm Jerry. Passing it off to...
Maurice Brown III. I work with the city of Schenectady. I'm the homeownership coordinator.
And I am Charnel Glean, and I'm the director of energy services at LifeWorks Community Action.
Let's give you a round of applause. Thank you for coming out.
Of course.
We appreciate your time. And let's get right into it. I was able to do some homework on you, and I did see you do a lot of things other than just working for the city. Project manager, personal trainer, transformation specialist, yoga instructor, and certified nutritionist.
Where do you get
Yes.
the time to do all that?
Yeah. After the second thing, I'm like, I'm not. That's too much. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm a lot of different things. Wear a lot of different hats.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Charnel Glean?
Well, Charnel Glean is from Grenada, beautiful little island in the Caribbean. I moved up here about 12 years ago with my family and fell in love with it. I studied construction. I was the only daughter, the only child of my father. He was a carpenter, and I walked exactly in his footsteps, always wanted to learn about houses, building homes, designing homes. I studied at Indiana State University, construction project management. I also studied architecture. That was my love. Prior to that, I was a high school teacher in Grenada for 8 years, where I taught architectural design and timber technology. I was one of 2 women teachers on the island during that time before I moved here. Then I went back to school for it. And I started working with sustainable comfort. And I love what I did. I'm a house raider, energy raider. That's where I started until I applied to be an auditor again, because I love auditing. I love going into the homes, meeting clients, seeing what their needs are, and helping them to save energy. And I was offered the director's position rather than being just an auditor. And since then, I've been helping people with their home, saving money, saving energy, and all that. Apart from that I love, I was also a real estate agent. Well, I am still a real estate agent.
We all are, buddy. We all are.
Yep.
We all are.
I love fitness. It's been my first love over everything else. Then I decided to become a transformation specialist, where I help others, with their nutrition and their fitness goals and all that. More targeting women with careers, women that don't have time to put themselves first, but their family and their jobs. And I really wanted to let them know, at some point we have to stop and put ourselves first. Because if we're not there, who's going to take care of the family? Who's going to take care of everything else? So that's where I became a transformation specialist. And a couple of years ago, I started my online training, which is called SHA Transformation, and just transforming that. Then you branch out into transforming homes, because I also do interior decorating. And this year, we're actually Little Concierge, which means Leave It to Us, as our concierge service that actually has a travel. We do a lot of traveling, because we're travel agents as well. It's a lot of different things, which I enjoy. So I enjoy traveling, I enjoy construction, I enjoy fitness.
David, we got to go back to school.
Dude,
we got to get more degrees.
I am beyond bewildered. That's an incredible amount of skills and education, and I'm exhausted doing what I do. I couldn't imagine finding time or the energy for what you just said. That's an incredible talent to be able to just keep that much up in the air. So
It keeps you young.
thank you for, maybe that's what I got to work on. Yeah. Thank you for finding the time in that incredible schedule you just kind of outlined here for us. So real fast, you said timber construction. You said something about timber science?
Technology.
Timber technology.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's doing joinery work.
Joinery work.
Building jewelry box, building cabinets, all those kind of things. Truss
So
construction.
one of my favorite design types is the pre-metal building.
Yeah.
Where you have good joinery, you have like self-compressing gaps or something. You would almost call it Amish built. But I think
Okay.
what's the term of that? It's like timber frame construction. I forget the name, but they don't use nails. They put wooden dowels in to hold things in place.
Oh, okay.
It's it was the thing to do when metal was more expensive than the whole house, right? So,
We just call it joinery.
Joinery.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing all that. That's a lot. But that's impressive, like David was saying. Yeah, I graduated with computer science, but you make me want to go back to school and do more things. So hats off to you. I know you also are part of LifeWorks Community Action. So tell us a little bit about what the mission is in regards to that group within the city.
Well, LifeWorks is really helping people in the low-income communities, the less fortunate communities, going out there, see what their needs are, and being able to help them in any way that we can. In doing so, we have a number of different programs where we can help them. So it's not just about weatherization. It's about the weak, women, infant, and children, that week program. We also look at the food pantry. I think we're one of the out of many, the only one that has the online food pantry. So you could actually go online and order what you want, and then you can get it delivered to you or can go pick it up, which I think is really cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
Never heard of
Yeah.
Yes. We also have the immigration services. We help a lot of immigrants. We help them with translation, help them with their taxes and all that every year. And it's like free services that we give to the people in those communities. So there's a lot of different programs within LifeWorks. So it's like about 5 or 6 different programs you can benefit from.
That's awesome.
And one of the coolest things, like a Walmart, is like a one-stop shop. Because if you qualified for a week, automatically you might just be qualified for the food pantry or weatherization if you own your home, that is, or if you're renting and you have a good landlord that is willing to take part in the program. So it's like a one-stop shop. You get all the help you need there, and maybe just one visit.
What would be the negative for a landlord not wanting to participate in a winterization program?
There sometimes we have a client that is renting and the landlord do not want to give us the information we're asking for. Like, oh, I'm not interested. Or sometimes it depends on the home. The landlord will have to contribute at least 25%.
Oh, okay. It
Yes.
comes down to the dollar. So,
Yeah.
because if I knew I was going to get 75% off the windows I just thrown in, that would have saved me 75% of $13,000.
Sign me up.
I mean,
Right? Sometimes we do have some landlords that just doesn't want to participate. I mean, we do ask for your social security number. It's the state requirements. Some of them do not want to provide that. So if you don't provide it, we can't really help you. Yeah, you will get deferred.
So who qualifies for a program like this? What's the eligibility?
Well, you could be income eligible, or you can become categorically eligible for that program. So if we do have, I think it's in the
Yeah, I saw
in the
that
folder.
in
It do
here.
has like an income ratio that you go with, or if you have a disability, if you have a person living in the home that is 65 and older, a woman with children, stuff like that, you can be qualified. If you do that program SNAP and HIP, most times that is going to qualify you automatically into the program if you receive those services.
well, it makes sense. Like he pays. Correct me if I'm wrong. He pays for heating assistance.
Yes.
Right. So it makes sense that program would want to make long-term investments to reduce their monthly expenses. So I think that mathematically it makes sense.
Yes.
Fix it once, and for the next 30 years, you have a decreased output to heat the same home.
Yeah, and I mean, HEAP do give yourself. A lot of people are not aware of that are receiving HEAP. Every year, you can get a clean and tune for your furnace. A lot of people do not realize that they have to maintain the furnaces, and that's how you're going to get high efficiency. Have it working effectively for you. So HEAP do provide that every year. You can get a clean and tune. You could request it, and they will do it for you free of charge once you qualify for the program.
That's interesting because I know the current apartment that I live in. When I first moved in about a year later, then I got a text message from the building manager saying, "Oh, we need to go in and change out your filters." And I thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute. I've lived in a lot of apartments, and no one ever came to change a
Yeah.
filter. So I'm just like, oh my God, like wow, because you got to think about it. It's not just the energy efficiency piece of that too. It's also a health thing.
Yes.
as well, because you're basically inhaling all of that dust over
Yes.
time.
Thirdly, it's a strain on your furnaces.
Yes.
If that squirrel cage is always spinning hard to pull air through, then you're gonna wear things out faster because it's always working at peak power as opposed to being able to rest.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, so that's an important thing, especially for smaller landlords to understand, because I think one of the major reasons a lot of landlords who don't participate in these different types of programs that are offered capital region wide is often they just don't clearly understand what the benefit is.
Exactly.
And in their minds, it's just a reason to spend money, right? But overall, you're saving money, and number two, it's probably already required that you do half the things that.
Well, yeah. I mean, client,
You shouldn't be doing these things.
Like there's a lot of code
Yeah.
things
Oh, I didn't
that a
know
lot
that.
of landlords don't always understand.
I think there are people who are professionally unaware, so they can claim ignorance and not do the things they're supposed to do. Like, this is the meeting on what you're supposed to do, and you just go in there, close eyes, cover your ears, hum to yourself. Because if you realize what you had to do, you no one would want to do it. But at the same time, if you could push the benefits of, hey, you might get another 3 to 5% efficiency. It doesn't seem like much, but when your furnace runs 12 hours a day and on and off through winter, that's a huge difference. Or as heating bills fluctuate, usually fluctuating up, because everything's expensive.
Yes.
You start knocking 5 or 10% off those bills.
Yep.
It makes a really good reason to do it.
Client education is very, very important as well, and that is one of the things that we will tell our clients once they approve for the program. Once we go there, and I'll tell you how the process works in a little bit. But once we go there, we have to educate them and tell them, okay, this is the measures that we are going to do, and this is where it's going to help you save or how you're going to benefit from those measures. So client education is very, very important, especially when you're receiving those fundings. Yeah.
You're educating us right now. So, what services do you guys provide? Like, is it just like maintenance of the furnace?
Oh,
Or you
no,
go in there, like,
a lot.
Okay.
A lot, and there's a lot of different programs that you can benefit from, like the lead and all that. So, basically, how it works, you apply to the program. You can go online to our website, that is LifeWorks Community Action, and you go onto the Energy Services tab. Once you apply there, we going to ask you for a number of things, especially your energy bills. You have to give us a year copy of that. You can just pull it from the internet. We're going to ask you for your income. If you provide a SNAP or a HIP letter that said you receive SNAP or HIP, you get qualified automatically. If you do not have those programs, then you have to show some pay stubs. But once you fall within the guidelines, then you're good. You're fine, right? Once you apply, then you get approved. We let you know that you're approved. We're going to send an auditor. Myself, I am an auditor. I do have a QCI as well and another auditor. And in the process of hiring a fourth auditor. Sooner or later, I'll be home. I'll be home for a couple of weeks, so I do need somebody else to help, right?
That's a quality control inspector?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And
the acronym. I got it.
Yes, we are one of the few agencies as well that has our own QCI. So it makes it easier at the end of the year when we have to present and do all our quality assurance work and all that. Yeah, it's really, we're very, very fortunate. This morning he said, I'm going to retire. He's like, no, you're not. I'm going to tie you to that chair. Like, not until myself and my other auditor get our QCI certificates. And yeah, but we want to make sure that our agency always have one. It's very important.
So does that include things like blower door tests?
Yes,
window tests?
yes. So we're going to get to that. So once you qualified, an auditor go out there. First, we do not. They're not going to audit right away. We're going to inspect the house, make sure that it is good for audit or is good to even undertake that program. Because if your house is not in good standings, like you have open walls or you have holes in the ceilings or open ceilings and all that, we cannot run a blower door. We cannot, and we need the blower door test, which is very, very important. We cannot do anything on it. So there is something called the Weatherization Ready Fund, where they can apply for that fund. That's another grant all by itself. We ourselves have to apply for it and then be able to help others. So we'll make the house weatherization ready. So we'll help close up the walls if they have foundation issues. Sidewalk is something that's going to help them to get the house ready to be weatherized, because we want to make sure when we weatherize that home that they're saving energy. We want to make sure that it doesn't defeat the purpose of what we're doing. I weatherize the home and there's an open ceiling. I'm still, we're still losing energy and all that. So there's a lot of different little things that go in there. We have we test the furnaces to make sure there's efficiency. If there's not, we'll, do a clean and tune We will do it if they do not receive HEAP, but if they do receive HEAP, we'll ask them to go to HEAP and, request the service, and they will come out and get that done for them. We also do the blower door test. We also do the windows.
What is the blow door test? Just for people who don't know.
So it's really testing the CFM of the home. How much air is infiltration? How much air is coming into the home? So that's when we depressurize, and then when we pressurize, how much air is leaving, how much energy is leaving the home. So it's different tests that you can do. So it's basically when you put up that blower door, is a blower door. It's actually a door frame, a red. It's always red, a red shroud curtain thingy. And you put up all the stuff to the fan. It's the whole system.
Okay.
Once that is running, you can actually walk through the home. You can put your hands by the window and you can feel that air because the house is being depressurized. You can feel that air coming through the windows or the doors or maybe even the vents. If the vents are not sealed, you will feel it coming through the vents, through the attic. If the attic hatch is not sealed, you feel all where you're losing energy, where that coming into the home.
That's actually pretty cool because you can easily identify the areas that actually
Yes.
corrected.
Yes. Yeah. So then, and I mean, it depends on the square footage that the CFM has to match, So it's pretty cool.
That's neat,
It's
yeah.
the best piece of equipment I think that we have with being energy auditors.
That's awesome. Yeah, usually I just go by the window and just put my hand there and see if there's
Yeah.
anything coming. But that is a whole system ready to go.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned something I think is important for our audience and anyone else listening or watching is in actually Virginia, Rollins also mentioned this too for different when it comes to home buying, but actually stacking the grants that you are able to use,
Yes.
which I think is huge.
Yes.
Because if you're going through your program, it needs to be weatherized, but you see that there might be some lead issues or other things. So you've got your fund that you can apply for to assist getting it ready. But then if you have lead issues, you can also, in the city of Schenectady, utilize the Schenectady Lead Safe Housing Program at the same time
Yes.
as well. So by combining those things, it's reducing your expenses while making a healthier and safer home for you.
Yeah. And this is some of the things you have to sign. We do have like this lead and this radon sheets form that you have to sign before we can even do anything as well. So, yeah, I honestly wasn't aware of that program. I'm definitely going to keep that on my radar. And
Oh yeah, we're gonna make sure we make all the connections.
but we usually, but the homes like built before 1975. These are the homes we pay attention to for the lead issues. After that, we know a lot of them.
Yeah, because and for those of you who don't know, that's the cutoff year where there's likely to still have been lead used in your home.
Yeah.
So when people are abating lead, there's multiple ways for them to do that. They can remove the lead altogether, or they can encapsulate it in certain circumstances. But essentially, anytime anyone is cutting through a wall and your home is that old, it is very likely that there was lead paint used.
Yep.
Because it was just so common, especially in our area. And then we have like the highest per capita of older homes in Schenectady. So,
Yes, that is so
I
true.
did not know that.
yes.
So
Wow.
On average, that house was built in like the early 1900s.
Yeah.
So with FHA loan types, you can't have any peeling paint because it's automatically assumed that any peeling paint could be dangerous.
Yes.
So even though it's unlikely in certain places at certain times in certain areas, especially even a new community that was built 6 months ago, peeling paint is always assumed to be lead, right? So that's why it's part of that program because FHA wants to make sure that people who are buying under that program are buying safe homes.
Of course.
So-
As well as asbestos is one of the things as well. If there is asbestos in the home, we cannot run a blower door. If you if you have a fireplace and you haven't cleaned it like a wood, fire burning, we cannot depressurize because everything just pull. Yeah, and asbestos is one of the things that we have to look for as well in the home if it was built before a certain time.
What is the time that we stop putting asbestos in large quantity into homes?
Was it
we
about
ha- do you ever know that?
1963?
It was in the 60s. It was before
Yeah.
lead.
Okay.
But the thing is, a lot of people don't realize what actually is asbestos.
Yes, that is true.
It's not as easy if you don't know what you're looking for
Yes.
to just visually say, oh, that's asbestos in my home. And then there's friable or unfriable asbestos as well. A
Yeah.
lot of siding on homes.
We see a lot of asbestos-based siding up here.
Yes.
Yeah. In the basement, the pipes, all of those pipes, and
A lot of them are wrapped in asbestos.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. I went to a home to do a post with the state rep just a couple months ago, and we went down to the basement. I'm like, oh my God, we cannot run a blower door. It's like, what happened? I say, it's fireable. It's asbestos. Even the homeowner didn't know what it was.
Yep.
When we told her about it, she got so scared. I felt so sorry for her, not knowing that this is in your home and your dryer and washer is downstairs there. And mind you, the dryer was not vented to the outside. So you have one of those little things. So it's like all this and like this. It was crazy. Luckily we got that. We did ask her, we did recommend some other services she can get help where they can come back and remediate that. And she got the help that she needed. So
Now for Charnel, for people who don't qualify for this, at one time I got a loan that helped me with the blower door test, and it was attached to the person, not the property. So even after I sold the property, I had to pay it off, but it was like New York NYSERDA loan for New York State Research and Development or something along those lines, and that helped me put a 2-inch rigid foam around the outside of my house. To help encapsulate and create a wind stopping envelope, and the siding was the final piece to stop that envelope. So I was able to do. I didn't qualify for anything, but I was still able to. There are programs out there you have to pay back, but it was completely and totally worth it.
yeah, with the loan, then that will be it's on you. But with
Yeah.
our program, we weatherize not the person,
Yes.
but we weatherize the home.
Yep.
So you can weatherize today. You decide to buy another home. You apply again. We weatherize the home again.
Devil's advocate, I want to put into that. Do I have to be the owner occupant in there, or can I just be an investor and use your grants?
No, you can be an investor. You can capitalize on the funds.
All right, I just want to make sure because I am positive.
One of the things is if you do have a for sale sign in front of the home, we would not be able to take part in the program. If you sell your home like 2 years later, we'll ask you remain in the home at least a year to 2 years before you sell, because you do look as though you're making a profit of state funds. We don't want that, right? And it's only like $8,000 per unit we can put into a unit. Yeah.
So just to clarify, so when he's saying investor, he's also considering landlords in that same statement. So if I have a landlord and I have a tenant who is low or moderate income, or who would qualify for that, I can still use that grant for my tenant's unit too, or no?
Yeah. So I have a case right now on my desk. It's 6 of them, 6 units, and the landlord, she does not live there. She's not qualified, but at least 4 of the people that live in that building are qualified. I can go ahead and weatherize that home because they're qualified.
4 out of 6 or all 6?
No, 4 out of 6.
So it's based on that there is an occupant. So
Yeah.
you don't do vacant. If
No.
it's a vacant
If-
unit, that's
If it's a vacant unit, but we know that you're going to have somebody living in there within, I think it's 180 days, I can go ahead and weatherize it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if somebody's going to be there, we know that you're going to rent it out or whatever you're going to do within 180 days, then I can go ahead and weatherize. Yeah. But it
that's-
can't just be just a home that's just vacant,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat. Especially that even if, despite the landlord or the owner not being able to qualify, the occupants can still.
Yeah, they have to
qualify.
apply. Yeah, once they apply, but the landlord, they do have to get the landlord's permission.
Okay.
Yes, to go ahead because, it's not their property. Really.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And if it's over a certain amount, we'll ask the landlord. Like if the landlord is the one that applied and they're not, qualified, they make too much money, then they will have to pay, I think, 25%. In my last visit with my state rep, I did think that is something that they're going to kind of move off the table a little bit because, just to be able to help more. Because a lot of landlords are shying away from it. They'll have to come up with that money. They don't see it as an investment. You're not even paying 100%. You're only paying 25%. But still.
See, I struggle more so when it comes to the lead grant. More of the tenants don't like to give their information as opposed to the landlords.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think because we've constantly changed our paperwork around to make sure it is easy to read for people as much as possible. I think it's actually a requirement in our grant is that we're constantly making those improvements so that way it's simpler language included in there. Now we do put a lien on the home for 3 years when you use ours. But because of the simplification of our process and a little bit of hand-holding that we give everybody, more of the landlords in our community are likely to use the program. But sometimes it's their tenant who's the stopgap because, like, if they have a hard way of communicating with their tenant, they don't have anybody kind of managing that relationship well, then sometimes that can be a little bit more difficult for them.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that a couple of times, but it's either you want the service or you don't, and if you really want it, you're gonna do what you have to do, to get it.
Question, Charnel. Any home can be approved for this program, or is it like a
Yes,
certain amount of
we
units?
do mobile homes. We do mobile homes. We do multifamily. We do single families. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Anyone could apply for it. I actually learned, interestingly, because you live and you learn. And there was this tenant that called one time. Oh, I just bought the house just last week, and there's some work that needs to be done. And it's like, no, you got to be living there for at least 2 years. And then when I went to my PPM, it's like, oh no, you can own the house today and tomorrow apply for the program and get qualified. I'm like, okay, all right. Because I just thought, okay, wow. And I think it's great. You buy a house
Over
today.
time, a lot of those types of regulations have changed.
Yes,
Loosen
it
up.
did change because I was 100% sure. I've seen that you have to live there for a certain period of time before you can apply. But now it's more like you buy a house today, you need a clean and tune, you apply for the program.
That's amazing.
Yeah. However, in that program, once we weatherize your home, we cannot do any more work for another 15 years.
Oh, there's the catch.
You do all the other stuff first. and then
Theoretically,
winterize
if you got the work done, you shouldn't need to do it.
Yes, exactly.
Right. But there's some clients we'll have to call and say, okay, I cannot do any work in your home. Your envelope is very tight. The only thing you need is 2 windows. I do not want to put in just 2 windows. They're just going to cost you $1,000. Remember, the CPU is the cost per unit is $8,000, which sometimes it goes over. It depends on what has to be done. And I will call and say, I don't want to give you 2 windows. Otherwise, if something major happens in the next 2 years or so, I can't touch your home because I just put $1,000 in your home. You have to wait for 15 years. So some of them are going to say, okay, well, all right, I'll just, get it on my own. Or some are just like, oh, I want a window. Nothing's going to happen to my home in 15 years. Okay. So we do have those those clients that they don't see, the whole, why would I want to just invest $1,000? Just buy the window yourself. And then, we can do it if you want. But you have to wait 15 years before you can get anything done again on your home.
Yeah, and you want them to make the most of the grant.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So, and I think that's an important thing too. Like some people, there are certain resources that are one use per time for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And essentially, if you are taking advantage of it when it's not really necessary for it, you kind of like remove yourself from the equation. And I think that's like when you're interacting with the public in general, it's great that you're actually having those conversations so they can make an informed decision as to what's going to be best for them. I mean, I even deal like that when we sell our city-owned property. And there's some people like, well, I have enough money in cash to cover what I'm offering, as well as with additional reserves the city's asked you to show. And then I'll ask them, I'm like, okay, but did you actually go out there with the contractor? Have you seen the home yourself? Have you gotten an inspector to go through the home or anything? And then they were like, well, yeah, but we figured we'll get that money together later. And I'm just like, technically, we may still approve you to purchase it, but you're putting yourself in a very difficult position.
Yes.
Right.
And the city of Schenectady looks at it as, and our council and our mayor, we're constantly evolving our process. So now what we do is 2 things. One, for the last several years, you have a certain time frame to fix up the home. If you need an extension, you can request an extension. If it's a reasonable situation, then of course we're just going to approve it. But on top of that, we actually are encouraging more people if you have certain contingencies or you need, like say it's a 4-unit property, but it's not zoned 4-unit, it's zoned 2-unit.
He's talking about me.
So we encourage people, hey, your offer needs to be contingent. They mean that they mean like, oh no, I'll be fine no matter what. We're like, yeah, no, we don't want you to have to deal with these issues on the back end. So your offer is now going to be contingent on you getting that approval from the zoning board. And then what will happen is before you close, you go through that process, find out yes or no if that's going to work out. And if it's not, at least you're not losing out on $40,000 as opposed to $1,000.
Yeah.
On your new paperwork you sent out yesterday to the listing agency properties, it says, have you been there in person? Check yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that come out. That was. Thank you for highlighting the change. There's, a small change like that might be missed, but
Yeah.
I am always nervous to sell anything, even nice homes or middle of the road or future works of art, if you want to call, near condemned properties. If someone hasn't been there and they haven't been in the space, it's really hard unless you've done 5 or 6 deals with them. That's a lot. That's a huge leap of faith. So I like clients being in the property, touching walls, being on the floors, smelling the air, being in the basement. I mean, it's just it's a part of the process. It's part of the whole thing. Yeah, so I'm glad. I'm really glad to have seen that on the paperwork. Actually, I think that's a huge
Yeah.
step forward.
So our property management committee essentially vets all offers that come through before our council.
Okay.
So our property management committee often makes suggestions for different changes to improve our process. Sometimes we get suggestions from the mayor's office directly, and sometimes we get suggestions from the council that they'd like to see in order to better protect the buyers as well, right? Because yes, we can tie you to different resources once you've purchased the property, right? So we will suggest, like, hey, have you looked at this program? Have you looked at this program? If you need that additional guidance, then you do have a team around you. You have your realtor, and hopefully you've kind of vetted your realtor and made sure that they're a person who is willing to work with you over time, just to make sure that you're best prepared. But also, your community, your cities. So whether you're in Saratoga Springs, Boston Spa, if you're here in the city of Schenectady, Albany, or Troy, usually there are other resources that we all want you to participate in, because ultimately we want that home to be safe for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of homeowners, what really deter them away from those programs is the long process, the application process. One of the good things about our application, I think we work the same application with NYSERDA. So once you apply to us, we can just send it over to NYSERDA, or we can just send it over to Rebuilding Together. And it's the same application that we have to use. But when you go through the different processes, it's a lot of work sometimes.
It
I'm like,
is.
Yeah.
Because
You don't
everybody
wanna
wants
do
your
it.
paperwork. Everybody
Sure.
wants your income. Everybody's got a different application.
Yeah.
So I like that you, especially because the funding source that you're using is identical, so it makes it a
Yes.
little easier
Yeah.
as well. And ultimately, you're removing barriers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So why doesn't people apply for this program more often?
I think it's awareness. I think a lot of people are not aware of the program, and I think that is something. Me as a director, you in your field, like find a way to let them know these programs are available. Because in Saratoga County, we have 129 mobile parks, and I think I've only touched about maybe 15 of them, because the others, they probably don't know about it. So one of the things we stress on is advertising, marketing. I'm presently working with an advertising company that's doing geo-targeting, geofencing, and it's been working well. I've been getting a lot of new applicants coming across my desk, and I think it's just awareness, letting them know what the program is about, how it's going to benefit them, and try to make the application process as easy and simple as possible. We also have a lot of immigrants now. The language barriers as well is one of the things we are faced with. And luckily for LifeWorks, we have at least 4 different languages that can be translated in the
we go.
agency. So we have people coming in that speak in Spanish, different languages, and we can just call someone like the executive director or call somebody down. We need a translator down here. And if we don't have the person in the building, then we do have the phone that we can actually have a translator online. So, I think one of the things is the language barriers, not being aware, not enough client education. And I think as because I'm not active in the real estate anymore, one of the things we need to make, not just buying a property, not just owning a home. There's a lot of different things about your home that you have to know. And we don't tell them that. And maybe it's not our job to, but I think as real estate agents, realtors, I think this is one of the things you can put together. As for me, I think my closing is in 2 weeks because I just bought a home in Schenectady.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Excited.
And,
Was
and
a realtor.
interestingly, on your second podcast, that young lady that you had here that were talking about all the grand stacking and all that.
Oh,
Yes,
Virginia Rollins.
Virginia Rollins.
Yeah, I did reach out to her. I'm like, listen, I'm in the process of getting a home. But I didn't. I made the appointment and nothing happened. So I'm like, all right, fine. We go the traditional way. We got this. But one of the things that when I walk into that home, because there are a lot of homes that I love, and I will ask the question that I will ask, be like, okay, when last you had a clean and tune? When last you maintained that furnace? I want to know all that. I want to know about the radon test and all that. And they were looking at me like, yeah. For instance, there's this beautiful home that I loved it was somewhere in Nassau County. Beautiful. I put in an offer, got accepted, everything, and beautiful home. When the inspector came and we actually got down to the nitty gritty of things, I'm like, oh no, I don't want it, because there's a lot of problems that you're seeing there. And I think for anybody else that would have went in, they just love the home. They just see a home, but they're not seeing all the other health issues that could happen. For example, on one of the patios, okay, let's start in the basement. The basement, there was a room there, but they needed firewall, rating firewall.
Yeah.
There was none of that. It was just open to the garage. That's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's a no. Other people that do not understand all that would not understand that. Even the panel, the electrical box was too close to the outside, so it started all the corrosion and stuff. I'm like, okay, somebody else wouldn't even see that as an issue. The pipes that vents to the outside that take all the exhaust from the house, it was so short that if you open the front door, that air comes back on the inside. The pipe should have been long enough extending beyond, the roof, so it goes, it's out of the house, not going back in.
Correct.
Yeah, so there was like a lot of different issues. Even the porch outside that the porch, what it was resting on, it was not resting on the columns, and we know the columns have to go way past the frost line. That was not there. It was just on some little, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that. And there's a lot of little things. There were even mold started to grow because there was no insulation in the basement, and it's cold. There was no warm air or anything. So it was
and those little items can happen.
and these are the little things that I think as realtors we need to put a packet together. Just get a little client information. This is what you need to maybe every year check your furnaces or check this or check that. Make sure that is all set. And because when the inspector do it the first time, that's the only time you're going to hear about it unless something happened. I think my furnace is not working. You should know that your furnace is not working.
Right.
Is it on? Yes. Is there heat coming out? No.
Right. So I think
not working.
information, client information is very, very, and client education is very, very important. Even for the people that apply, we try our best to make sure we educate them, let them know what is happening. Keep a record when your house was weatherized, what was done, and all that. And as well as real estate agents as well, you should
So Charnel,
educate them.
I have 2 home inspectors that I prefer to use. There's a couple others that are, will work in a clutch, but the reason I like the 2 home inspectors I use is because they basically grab my client by the pocket.
Yeah.
They drag them through the house.
Yeah.
And they educate for 2 or 2.5 hours and say, I'm going to give you this list, and it's going to be scary. It's going to be 100, 150, 200 pages. Don't think of this as why the house is good or bad. Think of this is the owner's manual for your house. I'm going to locate the water shutoff. I'm going to locate the shutoff for your furnace, or if there isn't one, because we've all seen that. I'm going to highlight the things that you should do. If you don't have gutters, I recommend putting gutters on. And what kills me is when someone spends $500 for this service, and they're in the car because it's cold in the house, and I'm like, go spend the time.
Yes.
This is probably the most you'll ever know about your house until the 10-year mark when you're replacing stuff.
Yep.
And the education piece is huge. And no home inspector is gonna carry a combustion air checker to see how efficient the furnace is. That's not normally in scope. And
But it's a starting place.
Yeah.
And I think that should be normalized, is that people have something like an owner's manual or something.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're not reading something right now.
Correct.
But if something comes up, you should be able to pull out your old inspection that was done, this 50 to 100 pages and look through it okay, and earmark what you need to. I like the little tabs that you get from Post-it.
And put it in there.
Them and stuff,
Yeah.
right? And then I'll make my own little highlighter color-coded guide. I'm like, it's something to do with electrical. Let's move here. Okay, this is when this was last done, or this is the information I have about this, and constantly updating it. And then when you go to sell your home, you are more informed as well, because there are certain things that you are required by law to inform the new buyer of.
Sure.
And even if you claim you did not know, certain things can be assumed that you should know, and therefore it could put you in a weird place.
It's also a starting place because agents like myself and Jerry are going to negotiate on the home inspection. So if you get a home inspection and it's still relevant, let's say it's in the last 10 years, and there was deficiencies then, you haven't replaced them, fix them up before you sell. If someone says, hey, you're getting some moss on the roof, it's probably 5 to 10 years before you need to consider replacing it. It's been 20, it's going to come up. What a great starting place to say, okay, this is how it was. I've replaced I'm no longer in bus fuses in our box. I no longer have S traps. I've changed them all to P traps because that's what's new code. Okay. Oh man, I did not realize that was that old. Look how horrible that is.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you address it because you bet someone buying a $200,000 house is going to spend that $500 for someone to look at it. And the reason I like home inspections, even when I buy my own stuff, I want the emotion out of it. I don't want oh man, I love this house. Oh my God,
Yes.
this
Yeah.
beautiful home. It's in Nassau County. It's this beautiful one. And I'm using your story. But you take a professional's opinion.
Yes.
Because it pulls the love out of it. You said, now let's
Yes.
be logical. Let's look at this logically and, categorically define each part of the house, good or bad, new or ugly. I really don't like seeing offers come in that don't have inspections because I don't want someone to say,
Yeah.
well, I didn't know.
Oh, I love inspection. I love a good inspector.
Good
and
inspection's
I will
huge.
pay for everything. I don't usually just do the basic one, but we do everything. The septic tank, the well water testing, everything to make sure that, I'm going in and I know what I'm getting into.
For those of you in the city of Schenectady, you won't usually do a septic dye test or well water flow. That is usually for out of town.
Yeah, out of town.
But it's something that your agent should know, your home inspector should be able to do. It's basically a leach field or a leak test because if you start seeing orange or green water come up in the wrong place or you see it at all in a test, that's bad news.
Yeah, so I think from what you guys are saying, it's really important because when you're talking about removing the love of a thing passes as quickly as a meal that you ate that was really good. I'm sorry.
I like
Just
that.
Oh, I like
like
that. Can you
that.
say that again?
That's different.
No, you got to
I like
repeat
it.
that.
Okay. So the love of a thing will pass as quickly as a really good meal would.
Okay.
So the moment you finish eating it, the thing's coming out.
Depends on depends on the meal though.
It
I mean,
depends on
if
the
you
meal.
have
Come
stuff that's
on.
going to stay in you
Yeah.
for more than a day, no, you need to go and get some, a nice
blow
little
test?
No, you need
Personal training and a dietitian.
no. She does the dietitian.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yes,
No.
the transformation.
No, get your
Yes.
diet
Yeah,
reevaluated.
yeah.
Or you
So
might
that-
be
that
coming
is
up on that age.
exercise.
You might
Yeah,
need to get
that's
your
true.
checked.
That's true.
You need to get his. You just have to stay active. Once you stay active, it'll come out.
For clarity, we went from houses to poop.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's
much.
true. Things are fleeting emotions.
Yeah.
Things that we attach to things.
But we hang on to certain things and we'll say, well, so I get it sometimes when you're trying to list a house, like, well, this is the house my grandmother lived in. I said, okay, but you've got a hole in the roof and you got squirrels in your dining room and we were just chased out by a bum in the back corner. Those memories keep those memories, but we got to be realistic about the condition of the house. But emotions are hard to separate some days,
Yeah.
right? For me too. Like some days I don't want to admit I've lost, but eventually I'll get there. But it just sucks in the first couple minutes of it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of like what Sharna said, like about education. I feel like you said, when you walk through the process, I think a lot of buyers' first education piece is that inspection report. And,
Yeah.
and after that, they don't know nothing more about the house or even, unless they've owned it for X amount of years, then they start learning. But I think I was thinking as everyone was talking, like, how can you make that simplified? Like, how can you make an owner's manual that someone's gonna hold for 20 years and pass that on to another buyer? Or how can that be really like pushed?
Some people are really good. Some homeowners are really good at keeping like manuals. So even the wash and the dry, they'll keep a manual for that. They keep how many times their furnace was serviced and all that. So you have the dates and everything. Some homeowners are just very aware and they know what's happening with their home. And that's a great thing. One of the opportunities I had was to meet with the homeowners that I was buying from. And they had so much knowledge about the home to the fact that they had pictures of when they just bought the home, what the home looked like. And where it is now, all the work they did with it. They knew where everything was located, and it was just so amazing. Even when they were clearing out the garage, they contacted me. They said, "Do you want the paints and do you want the little trimmings and stuff just in case?" I'm like, "Of course, leave it, because I'm gonna. That's good." So these are things that the landlord, the homeowners, it depends on how they care for their home, and you will know if you care for yourself in a certain way. We know you definitely care for your home a certain way, and that's a big thing there. Or you just ask them to put something together. The first home that we bought a couple years ago, 10 years ago as well, that lady left a whole letter with everything, down to the stuff that she used to clean the kitchen sink, because it was a nice farm white sink. So she I still use soft scrub.
You don't want to use an abrasive on that.
I know, right? So she will leave everything that she used. So you could simply ask them to just write a letter. Just let me know where everything's are, where I can find everything, or when the last time this was done, or You can ask them.
I would say to normalize it, I think the professionals who deal with homes, so whether you're a realtor, whether you're an inspector, or no matter what industry it is, but if you're going into someone's home, I mean, if you're normalizing, hey, do you have that? And it becomes part of our popular speech, then people will start to think, oh, you know what, maybe I should have something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Because if everybody's engaging with them at different stages, right? So, I mean, I think the best way for someone who doesn't know what they don't know is to keep asking them for that thing, and then they're like, "What is that?" And
Yeah.
then explain it to them.
Like I've asked client, where is your water heater? Because that is one of the tests we'll do as well. And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? It's like, I think it's in the wall. It was a mobile home. It actually was in the wall. The water heater was in the wall, and then they built the wall. I'm like, so how do you get it serviced? How do you know it's not leaking? Like, I don't know.
The mold will tell you when it leaks. Right?
It was crazy, but yeah.
Find out.
Yeah.
It'll show up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think what we need to do is we occasionally use Pythagorean theorem or 3, 4, 5 right triangles, like when you're laying out a deck or you're doing some welding or whole layout in heavy industry. But I really do think that this should be a class we take a couple times, doing laundry properly. I still can't fold a fitted sheet. I can't fold a fitted sheet.
No,
You're
yeah.
not serious.
I cannot. I can't do it. My
No?
wife's gonna watch this. She's gonna yell at me because I admit that.
Oh, it's
You
really
just like
How do you fold? Yeah, how do you fold
just
it?
ball
I
it up?
just
Put it together and then just
no.
like,
Yeah.
I just pick a spot and I fold it. It looks like a slice of pizza with one side round. Anyways, I don't want to talk about red
Next
efficiency.
episode, we're bringing in a sheet and you're folding it right here.
You know
I
what?
agree.
Maybe. But servicing your water heater or draining it out every couple of years, so you don't
Yes.
just have all the heavy metal in the bottom. There's a lot of things we should teach in school, and we have to say, okay, how many people are going to use a higher math or really care about King Tut? How many people are going to have a hot water tank in their life?
A lot.
If I could trade knowledge for King Tut right now to fit a folded sheet, now that I'm publicly embarrassing
Yeah.
myself, King Tut who? Look what I can do.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I mean,
Seriously.
okay, cool.
I've never seen anybody brag about folding it.
Yeah, but you
Right.
three just did.
No, we were berating you, not bragging about
Okay,
us.
okay. Yeah, but I mean, there's certain pieces of knowledge that I think I don't necessarily need, but there's a lot of stuff that I have gained through failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Failure is a great teacher,
of course.
right?
That's how you learn.
Yeah, or you ask someone that's failed a couple times for a little guidance, or we could teach it, as a normal thing: changing oil, changing tires. Know what a water tank looks like. Know what how little voltage it takes to kill you. Why you don't put your fingers in the outlet box. We all know not to put, things in the outlet itself, but you
Any
go into
sharp-
the breaker
yeah.
box, and holy cow,
Yeah.
You never know.
all of a sudden that little stuff on the outlet will feel like a joke.
Oh yeah, I had to explain to my younger cousin who got his first apartment recently. But when you're looking at one of the plugs and it has the black button and the red button, he didn't know what those were. And I was like, well, when something cuts off randomly, you click the button
Yeah.
to reset.
It's a reset, yeah.
We talk
It's like
about
a mini breaker.
a
Like, you need to-
GFCI,
The GSC
ground fault,
outlets
circle.
and all that.
Yeah, I don't know the words. I know what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Ground fault.
we also have to pay attention that the client's information is not only for the homeowners, but also for the renters as well. They should know, because they're the ones living there. I mean, I'm renting a really nice apartment right now that I don't want to leave, but I love it. And I realize every time I close the door to the bedrooms, I get this air coming in underneath. I'm like, no, that room pressure is too high. And I realize when I close it when my son is asleep, when he gets up in the morning, his air. I was like, oh no, it's not balanced. So I told him, I said, the bedroom pressure is not balanced.
Is your door too low to the ground to not allow?
No, it's not that low. And then he still have the vents, so then it shouldn't be. So there's something that was not balanced in there, and it has to come from the system, the whole furnace.
So it's a forced hot air furnace.
Yeah.
And have you closed the vent to have less pressure coming out of it?
Yes, I've done this.
It's still-
I almost
it's
set up
still-
a blower door in there too. I'm like, I was gonna because I had my blower door in the car one time. Like, I'm gonna blow a door this thing. I got to make sure that this might, So it wasn't balanced, and I did tell them about it. And then since then, I guess they probably realized and knew what I was talking about. It got balanced. It balanced the entire system. And then every 3 months now, I say, I need a filter.
Is this through the attic? Are these available through the
No,
attic?
it's not. It's not attic. It's not. It's just a flat. I'm on the first floor. It's 3 stories.
Okay.
So you can just balance it straight from the. You can balance the system itself from the unit. And then they have the mechanical closet right outside so they were able, whatever they did, I don't get that much air anymore. I just put in the thermometer with the hose in there, and I realized, okay, it's less than 3, so that's good. Before it was about 5. That was way too high.
So 5 is like cycles of air per hour. You're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe like the goal is 3 to 3.5 cycles per hour on a house. Is that right?
Well, yeah, about 3. I usually
So 5 is a lot.
Yeah, 5 is a
And
lot.
100, and we haven't talked about it yet, but you can 100% overseal a home too.
Yeah, of
Right?
course. And
Right?
when it's
Well,
too
we're-
tight,
we're-
it's not good.
So we're talking about air seal here, but there are ways to over tight a house,
Mm-hmm.
and that has negative consequences as well.
Yes, you have the molds that are coming in because there's no way for that extra air to go out. As much as we want to stop the air from coming in, we don't want the infiltration and all that. We still want to make sure that there is a place where when it comes in, it goes out. Because if it stays in there, you have the mold built up. It causes a lot of problems, health problems.
I definitely think we could talk for like another 2 hours.
Yeah, seriously.
But I know you each do have pretty busy schedules. Do we have any last minute?
No, I'm good.
Shall we ask?
You see the announcement in Times Union? There's a plug for the Times Union, everyone, for the local newspaper. Make sure you read it.
That is not our local newspaper.
Well, okay. a local-ish
We are in the city of Schenectady.
local-ish newspaper.
So if you're listening, people in Schenectady, of course, and Boston, Spar, Saratoga counties, we have programs that could actually fit your needs. Again, we have the Head Start. I didn't mention them before. The Head Start program, early childhood education, all that, guys. Take advantage of that. Immigrant services, your taxes, all that. You help, finding jobs and all that. The volunteer service as well. LifeWorks is big on volunteers, so you can come in. There's a lot of different activities that we do all through the year, bringing awareness to the communities. So, take advantage of that. The weatherization program, the WEEK program. And of course, if you receive SNAP or HIP, you're automatically qualified for some of our programs. The weatherization programs, we have over $1.5 million to put into that. I'm actually supposed to complete at least 144 units for that grant, and then another $3 million for the bill grant that we're working on as well. So, take advantage of that. Visit our website, LifeWorks Community Action, go on to the Energy Services tab, or you can just give us a call and, we can take it from there. Let's see what services. You may not qualify for the weatherization, but you might qualify for one of our other programs, It's there. Let's take advantage of it. If you don't need it, send it to somebody that you believe, might have use for it. So you don't just stop there, and let's continue to educate ourselves. But, we spend like about 75% of our time in our homes. We want to make sure that it's safe, it's healthy, and it's comfortable.
Oof.
While saving money.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like the way you ended that. That was perfully said.
I don't think anybody should speak now.
Yeah. I think that's just
that's a good
drop the
end.
mic. Mic drop. Thank you for your time. I think on top of everything else you do, you're a great educator in what you're doing now. You've educated myself. Did she educate you, David?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was amazed. So I didn't know you can balance an air system because I always thought it was like you have the louvers that you can mechanically adjust and slow air down or whatnot, and by that pushing it back. But you're saying you can do something else.
Yeah, you can balance the system.
So I'm gonna go down a deep dive on YouTube and whatnot today, and try to figure that whole thing out.
Yeah, you can
'cause
balance it.
I didn't even know that was a topic of or an option to think about.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go do my best.
Yeah,
and-
sometimes they will tell you to cut the door so it's not too low to the floor, or they
so
will
I've
tell
seen
you to
that
put in the
before.
vents on top or in the bottom, but you can balance the entire system as well. Yes.
Look at that.
Well, thank you
Thank
all
you.
for your time today. Of course, we appreciate our hosts. We appreciate our guests. We actually, in future episodes, will have someone from the Schenectady Lead Safe Housing Program come in to talk about that. So, you can kind of partner those two education pieces together. Also, we'll be having some real estate attorneys come in as well. And we're actually going to start also talking to different investors who've invested in our communities, as well as some people of color who actually have who are starting development corporations themselves.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah. So I think it's right now the term that floats around most is BIPOC developers in general. So, yeah. They actually have a summit tomorrow online for a lot of BIPOC developers. But that's a whole other thing. I'll go.
Okay. Well, you have my email, so just send me those. Once it's out, just send it over. So
Email blast that over.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll definitely send
Yes.
that out. I think it's Syracuse that's hosting it this time. So I'll send
All
it
right.
to you guys. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
We'll catch everyone in 2 weeks.
All right, awesome.
thank you.